Welcome back to Fitness Manifesto. I am one of your hosts, Kim, and joining me is
Justin. Welcome to this new show that we've started, which focuses on life, awesomeness, friendship, and fitness as a whole. Kim, we're back.
How's it going?
You know, as you like to say, living la vida loca.
No, I think that's you. You're the one who likes to incorporate Spanish, and I have to tell you, I was a little upset this morning, and you're right. You didn't say one thing in Spanish. Nothing.
And I realized that afterwards. I'm glad that you know those subtleties of me, that you can call me out on it. I 100% did not do that, and I'm sorry.
Yep, I was a little disappointed.
Well, I think that brings us back to today's subject that I think is going to be so much fun to talk about.
Justin, everything that we talk about is fun.
Why do I even put a caveat there? That's embarrassing.
I know. You should feel embarrassed by that.
All I'm going to say is I won't do it again.
Good. I like to hear that.
As usual, you're right. Today's subject is something really fun. It's basically how do you give someone a critique, an observation, an improvement opportunity, and do it in a way that's not creepy, weird, odd, awkward, whatever word you want to use there.
Bossy, mean.
There you go. Because it started with the concept that one of the instructors told one of our regular writers that she had horrible form.
Which that's just not how you begin a conversation.
Well, one, if you don't know anybody. And two, the thing about cycling in particular is people are going there as an escape. They want to get fit. They're burning off energy. They're frustrated. They're working through something. Really, they're not to be critiqued on their form.
Right. They don't want to be called out, especially in front of all the other riders. I know some of them don't even like the praise of their names being said, but to say something negative in front of anybody else, even when they're not clipped in, you just don't.
100% right. And it's one of those things that it can go south really quickly. And so we wanted to kind of have fun with this today and some of the things that we've observed and how we would handle it. And so I want to kick it off real briefly here with the concept of someone who really doesn't have good form. For instance, like they're riding the bike and their legs, which I can't really describe on a podcast, but they're kind of like shooting outward. So instead of your legs going up and down normally, they're kind of skewed out a little bit, like maybe 30, 40 degrees.
Yeah.
Just a really weird position to be in. It just looks uncomfortable, everything else like that. But there's several riders that do it.
Terrible for your knees. You can really injure your knees like that if you're pulling them more out.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point. But how would you approach that? Because originally I was going to say, close your legs.
Yeah, especially because there's a lot of women in our class, Justin. I mean, some of them may like it, but some of them may not either. How I would approach it, I would just let them know to the class as a whole that they need to make sure that their knees are going straight down. They don't want to have them angled out at all. They need to be right underneath of them and be going straight down, because if they are angled out at all, it could really injure their knees.
I got to tell you, that's probably the most serious. And that was like almost a public service announcement you just gave there. Very rarely are you just monotone. You're like, look, I really care about you. I just don't want you to hurt yourself. That was fantastic.
Well, there's no joke in that. Your form is so important. I can't even joke about that, because if it isn't fixed and you really injure yourself, they're not going to be able to clip in with us.
Absolutely. 100%. And I will tell you kind of the flip side to this serious conversation is I was teaching a class on Tuesday and Kim was right behind me teaching, and she walked in out of the blue.
It was great.
It was fantastic. That's why I'm laughing already. I'm talking to the people out there saying, hey, thanks for the class today. And a couple of the women there brought in seat protectors that kind of help cushion it because the seats are really uncomfortable. And the first thing Kim said, would you please tell everyone what you said?
When I first started riding, the seat is extremely hard. I thought I had a yeast infection. I mean, seriously, if it hurts to pee, when you sit down, that's where I'm going. I've got a yeast infection. Great. It was terrible, and the chafing, it was rough. So I just told them that I thought I had a yeast infection whenever I started riding. And one thing that you guys will find out about me, the more that you listen, is I have no filter.
Not that I have a filter. I definitely suffer from that as well, but I don't ever blurt out things like that. And that's what makes you so incredible, because it started this whole new conversation. I just looked at everyone and was like, okay, that's my cue. I'm out of here.
But he did not leave. He stayed.
I stayed for a little bit of it because it was funny, because the reactions were hilarious. And that's one of the things that I enjoy most about the show too, is that it's just such a real glimpse. Because in a normal situation, anyone other than Kim that would have brought up, they would have gone, ew, gross. They just started a whole conversation. It was like this organic evolution of things.
It morphed into a whole bunch of other probably nasty girl stuff that we probably shouldn't talk about online. But that was just part of my journey. I thought I had a yeast infection and it hurt to pee, but that was not it. It was just my body getting used to sitting in the saddle.
That makes sense.
And ouch. is all I'm going to say.
I want to take that point for a second though, too, because we're talking about form a second ago, but I think in general. So I'm going to kind of segue here into something that is similar to this, but it's on the same path. So I went to my chiropractor because I was having lower back pain, say 2 weeks ago.
It's that age, guys.
Oh, it's horrible. It's definitely ageism. And also several decades of never stretching, which is beyond dumb.
That's terrible. I stretch all the time.
Oh, I'm now a religious fanatic about it, but I should have done it when I was younger and I never did because I was an idiot.
The shoe fits. I mean, you said it.
At least I know. It was funny because I asked my chiropractor, I said, who do you see the most? And the two things that she sees the most are people that do CrossFit. And the second thing is people that are doing like yard work or something stupid where they just did something and they pulled it, they turned wrong, something weird.
I have to stop you right there and laugh at that because if I remember correctly, and we talked about this on the podcast not too long ago, you were doing yard work and you bent over and hurt your back.
That's what I looked at her and she goes, yep, you're my ideal client. And she said, that's an injury that's almost hard to prevent, but you can stretch, like you basically, what was happening is my hips were just too tight. And so it just clenched, right? So by stretching more, I should never have that issue again, which was awesome. But with CrossFit, I think this is a good example here. CrossFit is one of those sports where you constantly are pushing yourself to the point of breaking. Like that is kind of the goal of it.
Right.
And when it comes to fitness,
it's
incredibly quick. And when it comes to fitness overall, if you want a long journey and a healthy journey without injury, form is important and not killing yourself every time. And so like when we talk about the seats, I know they're uncomfortable, but if they're unbearably comfortable, we're like, for instance, like you were that sore, that's something that needs to be investigated, right? Like that's not a normal day-to-day thing. If you're going through that, you need to do something about it.
But you work through it. Like we say all the time, you just show up for yourself and keep showing up and you will get used to it. Your body will adapt and then you don't have that anymore. I thought about buying the cushion shorts and I don't need anything to make my butt look bigger, but I thought I would just fight through it and I did. Now, even if I take a couple weeks off, that doesn't affect me like that.
No, see, that's amazing. But I think there's a fine line. I guess what I'm trying to say here is there's like a fine line between pushing through because you know that it'll work out eventually, right? Like getting sore muscles, that kind of thing. And there's also the point where you're pushing so hard that you're going to injure yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, there is a line there and you have to know that with your own body. If you know that you're going to push it to the point that you're almost going to injure yourself, that is not good. Do not push yourself. Please, 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 I'm begging you, do not push yourself to that extreme because if you do and you injure yourself, then you're out. If you tear your meniscus, if you tear your ACL or MCL, a lot of those require surgery.
And sometimes you may not be able to do that activity ever again at the level that you were wishing to. Just a word of caution. This has been 2 service public announcements from Kim today, and I think they're very valid. But I'm going to back it up by saying, don't do those things. A lot of people succumb to peer pressure. They're like, oh, you can do this, you can do that. One of the things we do, especially in cycling, is look, the ride's about you. Our job is to coach you. You know your body. You know what you're going through that day. Some days you wake up and you're already stiff. Don't kill yourself. You just have the energy. Don't push it so hard. Yes. So listen to your body and make the journey about you and don't succumb to peer pressure.
Right. I always tell my riders, this is your ride. If the numbers that I call, if they don't work for you, don't do it. I need you to do what works for you, what feels comfortable with your body. If coming out of the saddle at 80 RPMs doesn't feel good for you, I don't want you to do it. Because if you do, you could injure yourself. And I don't want that, especially during my ride, because then they'll be like, I don't ever want to ride with you again.
Exactly. And we always joke at the end of the ride, I want you to come back saying, hey, I love that ride, as opposed to I hate you.
Right. Justin said that today in his ride, and I told him, I said, there's no way we could ever hate you.
And I got to tell you, I probably blushed on that one. That was definitely very rarely, but it was one of those like, oh crap, you caught me.
It was like one of the kindest things I've ever said to you type thing. Is that what you're going with?
It was so genuinely sweet that it caught me off guard.
Well, I mean, it's true. And honestly, Justin, those ladies, they love you. They love you. You should see them. They show up for Justin, and it is great whenever I go clip in and ride with him before I teach. They like them some Justin.
Jesus Christ. I think I'm going to be like purple by the end of this thing.
Yes. That's what I'm going for.
Oh man, that reaction. I got a shirt. Kelly got me.
The best shirt.
It's a little off subject today, but since we're talking about this, then it says, woke up sexy as hell again today.
Yep. It's true. I mean, I think that shirt is so funny, and I love that Kel bought it for you.
I think it's brilliant. And I think every good show has a slogan. I think that needs to be the slogan of this show.
We could run with that. I'm okay with that.
I'm totally good with that.
We could absolutely do that.
Now, for those that don't know, before we keep going in this subject, Kim, by no stretch.
Oh, I have no idea what you're about to say here. I may be a little
bit. I promise not. No, this is a compliment to you. I promise.
Okay.
But it's very funny because she is, of all the people I know, probably the least vain person. I mean, she is, very, very unvain. But the very first thing she said when she walked in, she goes, "You're lucky I'm not vain because my hair is wet." She went through this whole tirade of things that had happened because she was rushing to get here today. So I want to let you know that she knew her body. She knew herself so well. And she knew me that she still showed up and still performed. Isn't that awesome?
I said bougie.
A bougie. Thank you.
Yes, I showed up. I rarely ever wear makeup. I wear makeup I wear mascara whenever I go to church on Sundays. Other than that, I don't want to have to take it off, so I don't ever put it on. Like, that's a whole ordeal. I want to be comfortable. High heels, I'm just not interested.
It's very interesting because my daughter is she's 9 going on 30, I think. She'll go into Kelly's closet and pull out these high heel shoes and wear them all through the house. And I'm like, Bailey, you're 9. I
just think that's a kid thing because Abba does the same thing. And I think they like the click on the tile. I remember doing it with my mom, and I would go take her high heels out. I enjoyed the click on the tile, and I think that's what it is. They can hear themselves walk with the click.
Yeah, that makes
God
sense.
did not gift me with height, so I am on a good day 5'1", depending on what shoes I'm wearing, and that's wearing my tennis shoes, not flip flops. And most of my quote unquote high heels are like platforms, 4 to 5 inches. So they raise up in the front and the back. And Abba is like, "Look at this, Mom. I'm almost as tall as you with shoes on." So yes, I think it's the clicking on the ground.
Okay, that makes total sense. So I think as we keep going down this vein here, one of the things I think that's really important to be aware of when you're coaching anybody out there is humor can be a really powerful tool.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's part of the beauty of when you drop that whole yeast thing. And then the other item that you dropped today that was also very funny is she introduced me as part of a club. She only done that once before in my life, that I was part of a itty bitty titty club with her.
Oh, yes. I was waiting to see where you're going with that. I was searching my brain going, what else did I say to him today? Yes, the itty bitty titty committee.
And it's committee. Thank you. And it was very funny because, again, it was using humor and it brought people together. So when you're coaching or whatever, one of the best disarming tools that I can think of, period, or trying to, get someone to come along is humor.
Yes.
It's amazing the power of humor.
Yes. Be lighthearted. And you know what? Smile. A smile goes so far. And, honestly, it's weird, but talking now, I'm not smiling. But if I smile and then I talk, you can hear the difference.
You absolutely can. I think it's a wonderful point. And it's one of those things that...
Can you tell Justin's not smiling right now?
But I am now.
There you go. Did you hear the change?
It is one of those things, though, that's so fun to do. Smiling feels good, too. It's one of those things that I think we often overlook so much. And it's one of those things that if you go back in time, it's one of those things almost in any culture, it's a disarmament thing. If you smile at someone, most of the time, they're going to accept it and be, kind of, if you've met a stranger for the first time, they smile, you feel better about going up and approaching them. But if they're glaring at you, they've got RBF or they've got something going on and they just look
RBF,
at you.
I love that. I love the abbreviation. Okay. For y'all that don't know what that is resting bitch face.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. And it's one of those things that makes you uncomfortable if you're not expecting it. But a smile will automatically, kind of invite you in. It's almost like, opening the door to your house a little bit kind of thing.
I have to tell you, whether they're smiling or not, I have no problem approaching anybody. Justin, you probably already know that about me. I am always smiling for one, but even if you've got a scowl on your face, I have no problem approaching you.
That's beyond correct. And it's very funny because there was one time, I don't know, maybe a month ago, whatever, she was going through all this stuff where her leg was really bothering her and she was really stiff. And I mean, holy crap. It was in some ways inspirational to a person that I had pain and I felt like a total pansy compared to her. She was rocking it and she never mentioned it, but she walked me to my car and I was like, "Oh, it looks like it's bothering you." She goes, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, holy crap. So still smiling, always pushing through and going for it. And so I think, attitude is not only reflected in the smile, but it's a key piece of this thing too, right?
It really is. If you turn sour, turn everything negative, it changes everything. I mean, it will change literally everything. You won't want to do it. you won't want to be there. You'll stop believing in yourself. But if you can put a smile on your face and be like, yeah, it is bothering me, but tomorrow's a new day.
Man, I'm going to cry over here. I went from blushing to a deep, almost sermon kind of thing. This is fantastic, Kim.
Yes, I'm touching your heart and soul today, Justin.
It's right here. Mi corazón. See, I did some Spanish.
Oh, you did. You didn't do it in the ride, though. It doesn't count.
All right. I'm trying. I think that's a good point, though, too, because like today it just seemed like an off day overall. Like the people were all going through something at some level.
Yes, I agree with that. Even in my ride, I felt that too.
It's just weird. I don't know. It's something in the air today. I don't know what's going on. But
it's the first day of fall, right?
Oh, that's what it is, Kim. It's change.
First day of fall, and it's still 110 degrees out with humidity.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even I mentioned today in the ride that, we got to get a little cooler out here. But I think that even with all those constraints, right, people are going through something. You can feel it. You can see it. The minute that you not only smile, but you engage with them on a different level where you say, look, I hear you that you're going through something,
right,
but let's do this in a different way. The energy when we left that room today was totally different.
It was. I read something years and years and years ago that there was this person who, honestly, they were going to go kill themselves, but they had to make a stop for something with their parents or something. And they went into a store, and the person who greeted them with a smile and said, "Hi, how are you?" And it changed their whole perspective, and they didn't do it because somebody showed them kindness. Wow. I tell my kids that, and I tell them that story. I said, regardless what type of mood you're in, you smile and say hi. I mean, regardless, it can change everything for a person. It can change. I mean, that's always what I've gone with. Smile, say hi, or nod at them, but don't put a scowl on your face. Always be positive. You always got to be positive. You're here for a reason.
I think that was incredibly enlightening and bright. I would also add to that the fact that even when you're going through stuff, especially when you're going through stuff, right, it's more important than ever because it's very easy to go down that pity party or to go down that path of the woe is me cycle and be an Eeyore. But I think that it's funny because like last week I was sick and we didn't get to record for, 2 weeks, something like that. And I was really bummed.
No kidding, Justin.
I'm back.
I'm
we're
glad.
on it and we're crushing it.
Yes.
But I was really bummed about it. Like I was really actually starting to get bummed because I was like, look, this is a project I'm really enjoying, all that kind of stuff. And then I realized, look, if I keep pitying and feeling bad about this, it's not going to help me recover. And I'm just going to focus on the negative. Why don't I just enjoy the process and realize that I'll be back next week and it'll be great again. And so going down that little self-realization journey is exactly kind of what you're saying here in terms of you don't want to get down on yourself. And also you don't want to reflect that negative energy to someone else because there's so much around us that can bring you down. If you can be that ray of hope, that ray of light, that ray of inspiration, that smile, something so small as that is a really powerful tool.
Yeah, there's too much poison in the world today to not do something so simple, something so easy to just change that. And I do want to put in that Justin was sick last week and it was his birthday.
That's true. And Kim made it so special.
And he was sick on his birthday.
In fact, it was a week ago today. I got to tell you, it was horrible because I was starting to feel a little bit better on Wednesday. And then I woke up Thursday and it was just like Thursday and Friday were even rougher. It was something bad. And I
subbed all of his classes last week. I just want you to know that.
Without complaint.
Yes.
And she volunteered every time. So thank you.
You don't have to thank me. That's what a team does, right?
Still, it always feels nice. See, this is me acknowledging your hard work. Look at that.
You're welcome.
Playing it forward. She showed up on Friday with balloons. She got me this unbelievable cake. And it was funny because I guess she had reached out to Kelly and Kelly was like, what kind of cake should I get him? I don't know, something healthy.
He is so picky. Justin is the pickiest eater. He likes to eat pretty clean, and I am not that person. He's very picky, and he told me he wanted a rum cake. I'm sorry. Kel told me that you were looking for a rum cake, and I couldn't. I'd have to order it off of Amazon. So I
got the next best thing.
I did indeed.
And it was amazing because I wasn't expecting it. First of all, it looked beautiful, but I didn't know it had fruit in it. So I cut it open inside, and I ate a good third of that cake, I
had to make it kind of healthy.
Oh, that's what made me think seriously, because I was like, oh, there's fruit in here. It can't be that bad. It was funny because it was such a nice gesture. And then she brought me a balloon and a drink. What was it?
From Smoothie King? Was it Smoothie King?
That was from Main Squeeze.
Main Squeeze. Berry something.
Yes. And then you also got me a body armor. I mean, it was great. You knocked it out of the park.
That was my favorite flavor of body armor.
It was so good. I drank it that afternoon, and it was
a blue raspberry one.
It was tasty. In fact, I gave a little bit because Bailey's never had it before. So when she got home from school, I poured some in a cup before I had mine, and she goes, "Dad, we got to get more of this." So
and I will tell you, I was looking for a black balloon because Justin's over the hill, and I just wanted to give him crap, and I couldn't find one, so I had to settle for just a happy birthday balloon. But I chose a dark. I think it was dark blue, right?
I actually thought it was black. I have to look at it again, but it's got gold writing on it. I'm way over the hill. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I was trying to go with, to like enlighten and brighten your day. I was really looking for a balloon that said over the hill, and no, they didn't have it. So I was like, ugh.
Well, Kim, as always, XOXO, and thank you for making me feel even older.
I'm glad it brightened your day, and you're welcome.
One of my best friends is Eric in LA, and he and I have known each other for, probably 30 years now. And he was so funny.
Age speaking through right there.
That's kind of what I was going to say. And I made a comment about him because his birthday is the day before mine. And I called him and I said, "My God, you are so old. I can't believe it. I mean, do you feel like you need to start getting prepared for the geriatric ward? Are you starting to look at retirement communities?" And he's just like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And I looked at his profile on Facebook. It still says he's 28. And I couldn't stop laughing.
It says 28, but does he look the part?
Eric's probably going to listen to this, so I'm not going to say anything other than...
You don't even have to say it. I will say, just by your response, the answer is no.
Well, it's hard, especially in your 40s, even when you look young, to look in your 20s, because you look at pictures of yourself when you're 20. It's easy to be 40 and look 30, I think. But to go all the way back to 20...
Speak for yourself.
And I'm going to. Maybe I can pull off 20. I don't know.
There you go. You could.
But it was so funny because we started looking at older pictures of stuff like we used to do comedy together and all these things. We met in the entertainment industry. And it was funny because, man, we were so young. He's like, "Speak for yourself." It's exactly what you said. He's like, "Speak for yourself. I still look young." And I'm like, "Well, younger, but not young."
Yes.
And he was so offended.
And then you look at his Facebook profile and it all makes sense why he says that, right?
I was dying laughing. And for those that don't know, Eric is a big voiceover guy. And he got at some gig with a new cartoon that's being translated from Japanese to English.
わかりました.
And he's one of the main characters' voices.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is really cool. And it was so funny because I'm like, thank God you're doing a lot of voiceover work, because if you put that real age on there and you showed up for audition, they would be like, he's like, "Oh, stop it. Just stop talking."
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's great. If he didn't do the voiceover, you're saying his age would really shine through?
No, not really. I mean, he could pull off definitely younger, but it's like when you watch like Friends, if you watch the Friends series, right?
Yes.
So when it starts, you can believe that they're in their 20s. Okay. But by the end of it, it's you know they're in their 40s. Like, it's pretty obvious. And they're still pulling off like, "We just turned 32. When I was sick, I watched a few of the later episodes. I'm like,
they're stretching it a little bit.
And they all look good for their age. Again, this is not a slight on any of them. It's just, you can tell that, come on.
Right. No, I get it. I know exactly what you're saying.
So listen. I had a lot of fun today, Kim. This was another great episode. And to recap here, one of the best things you can do, period, out there is to laugh and have fun.
Yes, and smile.
You try not to take things so seriously because, again, when I made that comment to Kim about, keep your legs together, because I was like trying to think of a way to, because that's what I was saying. You got to keep your legs in alignment here. It didn't even occur to me. And I was like, oh my God, that can come off totally the wrong way.
Definitely know your audience. That's for sure. I mean, if you, nope, I don't think there would be.
I don't think it's ever a good way to say it.
No. Definitely change your verbiage on that one.
100%. Knowing your audience, but also when someone's trying to tell a joke, don't be as critical of them as well. Like, don't be, don't judge the joke.
Right.
That's also sucks. So there's a lot of things we can do as a team here.
Definitely with the people who you're writing with or that you're instructing, don't call them out negatively in front of anybody. I mean, that is, you wouldn't want it done to yourself. They definitely don't want it. So pull them off to the side, ask them to stay after and be like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about your form. Do you mind staying with me and clip in? Let me work with you and let me help you." Don't just be like, "Your form's terrible. You need to fix that." You didn't give them any pointers on how to fix it.
I think it's a beautiful point. And I would also add to that by saying, you can also approach in a way that's positive where you say, "Look, I noticed you were writing today and I know you've been here so much that you really want to improve on everything. So why don't you stay for 5 minutes? Let's work together here. Because I noticed that when you're getting out of the saddle, I want you to feel even more comfortable." You're doing the same thing. You're getting the same message across, but you're doing it in a way that's so disarming and And so it's hard to say no to it, but it's also non-offensive.
Well, and then they'll want to come back. Like I have had a writer before that their form, they weren't keeping it tight. They didn't engage their core. They were bouncing all over the place and shimmying their butt from side to side. And after everybody had left and they were sitting there talking to me, I said, hey, I want to tell you with your form, I need you to do this. You know, you need to engage that core and try to anchor yourself down. You need to pull it all tighter. You don't want to be bouncing around. I mean, you can injure yourself. You know, they were very, very appreciative. When I see them right now, you can see the improvement.
You're a poet. You didn't even know it. All right.
Hey, that goes for you too.
Well, thank you. And that concludes today's episode of the Fitness
Manifesto. I know you guys enjoyed it.
And Kim, I want to say thank you to you and to our audience for making this podcast what it is.
Yes, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys.
And stay tuned for the next episode.